Good evening. The hour being after 7:30, it is my pleasure to call to order the September 13th, 2018 school committee meeting. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Special welcome to our vast listening audience. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that today is my mother's 70th birthday, and I know she's watching, so
Happy birthday.
I just told everybody how old you are. Congratulations. Our second order of business is the Walpole High School student report, and today we have Darcy Coleman. Ms. Coleman.
Good evening. As we are coming to an end of the first full week and complete cycle of the new 8-day schedule, students and faculty have adapted well to the new layout. The fall season is a very exciting time for students, especially those involved in fall sports. Last week marked the start of the season for sports including boys and girls soccer, field hockey, volleyball, swimming and diving, football and cheerleading, and cross country. This past Saturday, the football team faced their longtime rival, the Norwood Mustangs, ending with a 27-0 win for the Rebels. The team hopes to continue their success this upcoming Saturday as they play Wellesley at 3 p.m. Following the game, there will be a Rebel Pride Dance from 7 to 9:30 at the high school. Tickets have been on sale throughout the week at lunches for $5 or for a combination ticket $10. Tickets will be sold at the football game for $6 and at the door of the dance for $10. There will be a Walpole Pride Spirit Day tomorrow to show support for the football team as well as other sports teams. Along with the start of sports comes the start of clubs. The speech and debate team are preparing for their first tournament on October 20th. The Yearbook Club, PM Club, Photography Club have also had their first meetings of the year. Students interested in partaking in the Walpole Film Festival will meet in Mr. Allen's room after school on Thursday this upcoming week. The Walpole High School Drama Club have hosted auditions this past week for their first ever fall play, Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just as a follow-up question, I know we've gone through now a full 8-day cycle, so what are your personal experiences with the new schedule and how it works?
To be completely honest, I got a little confused the first day where this period switched 2-1. But I think teachers have been very helpful with reminding you which periods to go to and which classes. So I think it's actually going well, and it gives you a variety of classes having different times each day.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next order of business is the Walpole High School Fire Review.
We have Mr. Charlie Farrell, who will provide us a little context for the club and give us a little history. Charlie is a psychologist at Walpole High School.
Good evening. So this is year 4 of the Fire Within that we started a long time ago at the Federal Reserve Bank. Remember, Nancy, we went to our first field trip. Riverside was the starting force behind this, where they wanted to start to really deal with the mental health of students. So we formed this group, and what we do is we meet as a group pretty regularly and talk about what's going on at Walpole High School and in general with students. So I refer to the students that help me every day at school and then in our little group. So it's all volunteer. They come and work hard and listen hard and tell me what's going on. So they're my feet in the ground and they're really good at it. So what we've done, this is year 4, after we won the prize of some money, we decided to create a planner. So this is our year 4 review planner. Everyone has one. So what we do is we create the planner and we give one. I present it to the transition day when all the 8th graders come up, and the ones that are actually freshmen that day, and we give that to them. And in it, it has a lot of very good resources, both all the resources at the high school. It has a welcoming page, tell us what we do as the Fire Within, our group. Second page, just a great ad for a company called I Am Strong, and they're based out of Westwood. They're a mental health agency. And then they have a whole page of You Are Never Alone. It gives all the resources that we have at the high school. And then it gives some pretty serious resources that we have in the community or national issue for institutions that have some really serious things that students have to deal with, unfortunately, nowadays. Then there's a couple of our little advice that we gave, that we talked about at our group. One was this year, was about vaping, because vaping was very prevalent at the high school last year and is very prevalent nationwide, and the FDA actually came up with something today to probably, hopefully, take those off the market, because it's so, what is the term for it? It was a national disaster? Epidemic, thank you, that was the word they used, and they can use that as a law to get it off the streets, so that they don't have to sell it. We have all the clubs that are at the high school, so everyone knows what they are. And then we have, like I said, our little collection of data that we saw and collection of thoughts that we felt were the most important. One is about mental health, and the other is about vaping. So that's what we added in the calendar. And then you just have hopefully a very helpful organizational calendar for every student, every freshman to use. And we give that out, and it seems very popular. It's really cool to watch, to see the freshmen carry it around and look at it and refer to it and talk about it. So I'd like to introduce two of my students that could make it tonight. We actually have 5 that come pretty regularly and eat my snacks and drink my soda. This is Alyssa Kogan. Alyssa is my only junior, so she's gonna retain the club next year. She comes and talks and listens and helps out. And then this is Melania St. Cyr. Melania does the exact same thing that Alyssa does. But Melania is also the artist for the front page.
Excellent.
And I think she did a great job. So the other thing is they're expensive. And we do ask kids to, if they don't use them, just to give them back, because they are expensive to make. And we go on donations. I Am Strong is a very strong donator to us. The administration here has helped us out. Administration at the high school has helped us out as well. But we're always looking for money, because I think it's a very important thing. And now it's been really a tradition this year 4, and hopefully we'll do it for many years to come. I think the kids look forward to it. I think the kids at the high school enjoy it, and I think it works very well.
Thank you.
Would you guys like to say something?
Excellent.
Good, good.
I think one of the biggest things with the planner is that even though we have all these serious resources, if you need help in the front, even throughout the planner, there's some little quotes from teachers and also just little tips and tricks about the high school, which really just adds to a more rounded school climate at Walpole High School.
Excellent.
Very cool.
At the bottom of our planner, on any page that you can write, there's a fun fact, and you can write about your favorite part of the day, too.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Charlie, maybe you could just share some of the clubs and opportunities that you list in your planner.
Yep.
That's a few of the comments we've heard. Some people aren't aware of the many offerings that the clubs and social networks that students can participate in. And I
Sure.
know you have quite an extensive list.
Just take a look. So I think there's 18 clubs, maybe more at the high school, and some of them are very, very popular. A couple new ones that started last year. Gabe Bacall runs it, and it's called the Gaming Club. And it went from, a couple kids getting around playing games to 60 or 70 kids every Wednesday going crazy playing games, competitively, having fun. And it's a really eclectic group that has really blossomed, and really cool thing. And it's very current to what's going on with what these kids do. The big ones are the film festival, obviously, the speech and debate club, student council, but we have the PM club, we have the robotics team, the Latin club, school newspaper, art, best buddies, dance company, entrepreneur club, French club. Yeah, there's a whole, and we have a little explanation of what they all are about and the teachers that teach them, so. There's so many times a kid will walk in my office and say, I have nothing to do, or the parent will call and say, please get my kid involved in something.
Yeah.
And this is quite a list. It's an extensive list that you say, something here for everybody, there should be, right?
All right.
If they're not an athlete.
Excellent. While we have you here, if teachers or students want to make appointments with you or other counselors, do you have time in your schedule to meet with them very soon? What's the usual process?
Well, students are welcome to my office anytime as a walk-in. I walk into my office, sometimes the kids are waiting in my office for me in the morning. They're earlier than was supposed to be there. But also we have an SOS box in case, one it's an old, just a little, about this big, and I get it. One's in the library and one's in guidance. And for kids who don't know anyone to turn to, don't have a trusted adult at the high school, they can put a note in there, whether it be about themselves or anonymously about some student or friend or family member that is having difficulties, and I respond to that. And this year, for the first time online, we now have an SOS for a student. So when you go to Walpole High School, the homepage, Walpole, Town of Walpole, you go to the high school, you'll go to student and scroll down to the bottom and say SOS. And there's a little disclaimer on that I check it every day and it is anonymous, and it's already been used.
Excellent.
So technology, I think, is the way to go, but I get both resources and referrals, so I try and be as available as possible, and kids just come down on their own.
Excellent.
Very good. Mrs. Gallivan.
Can I just ask a couple of questions of the girls? I think the spirit of the Fire Within Club is that in some ways there are things that kids know they need to go to adults for, but I think there's also some times that kids can support each other in a way that they might not feel comfortable going to an adult. Is that part of what you're trying to carry on with the club?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. Me personally, I'm involved in a bunch of different clubs and activities, and what I do is if I'm in one club, I'll tell someone, hey, maybe you should join this other club, or you should do this or that, because even of the different clubs that are offered in here, they meet at all different times during the week, so there really is something for everyone, no matter what your schedule is. So I really think, especially people within Fire Within, and what we're trying to spread to other students is to try to get their friends and their peers involved in these things that they're involved in, and just kind of make the school a more welcoming place in general.
That's what I was going to say. I think it does make the school a more welcoming place. It doesn't necessarily have to be a student who's struggling with some sort of a problem. It could be you're there because you want to support good, positive experiences for kids at Walpole High, right?
Yeah, I think there are these serious things people deal with, but even everyone day to day has little struggles in school, or they want to have a better experience at school, which is, I think, something that we're really aiming to get for everyone at Walpole High School.
Well, thank you for sharing your ideas with us. It's good stuff.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much. Please feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we know you guys have homework and other responsibilities and obligations. So
Thank you.
thank you very much, Mr. Farrow. Our next order of business is the principal's opening of school report.
So an annual tradition, we invite our principals and the preschool director to come down and present the school committee with some of their thoughts with respect to the opening of school. Instead of redundancy, we do have elementary principals who may combine certain aspects into one presentation. The same with the middle school, and Steve Bush, you're on your own as the only high school principal. So why don't we start with the elementary schools? If you would.
The preschool.
I'll start with the preschool. Excellent.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for having me today. Appreciate it. Opportunity to share some of the good things that are happening at the preschool. This is our 8th day of school. We started a little bit later than everybody else. And for some of our students, they've only been in school for 4 days, depending on the session that they attend. We've had a lot of great teaching strategies and techniques that are in play right now as the children start to learn their routines, how to use the materials in the classroom, how to stay in line, how to open up snacks, stow away their backpack, and just generally learning how to do school. And I'm just always impressed with how well our teachers do with those teaching strategies. When asked, all of our little ones state that they love school. One of our biggest complaints among the parents is that their children are waking up at 4 in the morning and they want to come to school now. Great. We love that they love school. We currently have 63 students enrolled, 4 just this past week. We're in the process of meeting and enrolling several new students over the next few months, Mary. So I anticipate our numbers will definitely grow across the next few months. We've welcomed 2 new teachers to our preschool due to retirements. We are loving the ideas that they have and the new perspectives that they bring with them. Our buildings and grounds look beautiful. They've, over the summer, everybody's worked very hard to really make the schools gleam. Thanks to the custodians and the building and grounds crew for all the work that they've done. We're excited to be piloting the foundations for preschool. Jean Kenny was able to purchase a kit for us, which we're excited to use. We have a teacher that's volunteered to pilot it in her classroom. We've requested and have been invited to join the state's Pyramid Model Consortium. It's a consortium that's offered through the Department of Special Education and Vanderbilt University, and it's intended to lead the program-wide adoption and implementation of the positive behavior supports systems for preschools. So we're pretty excited about this because it will also give us additional training on how to help children manage behavior. It will teach us how to coach and hopefully help us reach out to some of our community preschools and help them learn how to deal with some of the challenging behaviors that they're seeing. Again, the goal being to prevent any kind of suspension among young children from school. To date, we've identified a leadership team for this initiative, and we hope to train teachers and coaches to help staff work with children. We're looking forward to our curriculum night that's coming up on October 17th, and our fall fling will be happening on October 26th. So we're really excited about the upcoming school year.
Thank you, Jen.
Great
Questions? Elementary? No? Looks like the rookie in the group chose the shortest straw.
Yes, they
Oh,
chose me to go
oh.
first, break the ice. So I'm Carrie Ruggiero, I'm the new principal
Welcome.
of Elm Street School. Thank you very much, I'm glad to be here. So on behalf of the elementary principals, we thank you for having us here tonight to share the exciting start of the new school year. So we welcome approximately 1,400 grades 1 through 5 students on Wednesday, August 29th, and approximately 280 kindergarten students on August 30th with their families for our open house. Teachers and staff have created warm, welcoming classrooms and learning environments for their students. During these initial days, teachers are building strong relationships with their children. Using the tenets of responsive classroom, children are expressing their hopes and dreams for the school year. Teachers are then highlighting with their children the expectations for the classroom to accomplish these specific goals and dreams and hopes. As relationships are established, routines are practiced so that relevant, rigorous curriculum units can be explored and investigated. We are excited to embark upon this learning journey with all of our elementary students. Joining in this journey this year are 2 new elementary curriculum positions. We welcome Shannon Finley, who is our elementary curriculum coordinator for English Language Arts. She will work closely this year with our reading specialist to align assessments and curriculum for elementary students. Shannon has already supported our kindergarten and first grade teachers with initial implementation of Foundations, which, as Jen said, is a new program, research-based, systematic, and multi-sensory tool for phonological awareness, phonics, spelling, handwriting, and comprehension. Shannon has been an instructional coach and will lend her expertise to guide our teachers to implement a reading workshop model as they build upon their classroom libraries. Additionally, we have elementary math coaches, Allison Colarusso and Carolyn Kelly. Allison Colarusso will support Elm Street and Fisher, and Carolyn will support Boyden and OPR. Allison and Carolyn work closely with our teachers, modeling number units, guided math, and implementation of our workshop instructional model. Data will be examined and tiered interventions will be implemented to meet the needs of our elementary mathematicians. We are so appreciative of school committee financial support to allocate the resources to the elementary curriculum. We will communicate the positive impact these positions have on student achievement throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. All right, Dearborn, top that.
You stole some of my thunder. So I have the pleasure to tell you about 2 initiatives that you've heard already about one of them tonight, the Foundations program. That is a new approach that we're going to be working with our pre-K through 1 students around phonics and the ability of starting to learn early sounds. Prior to adopting this program, we did do some research talked to some other districts who's had some success in it. And now Shannon on board, who also implemented that in her past district, is going to be a great resource for us moving forward. We're excited about it. It really is foundational skills around supporting reading and writing that align with our Massachusetts standards. It's a new approach, so with a new approach, there's some learning going on for our teachers, but they've done an amazing job of jumping in and really ready and excited for this new approach for our students. The second initiative is for our grades 2 through 5, and it's called Freckle. And Freckle is an online resource that provides teachers with a differentiated platform so that it can reach all students. And so what that means is the students will come into a concept, do a little bit of a pre-assessment, and then the online resource will adapt to their skills. The teacher is then able to put assignments out, so it might be fact fluency, might be word study, might be comprehension articles, reading online, at that particular student's level. And then during small group instruction, the students can be working at their level, and the teacher can then look at some of the data and go from there. Another piece of Freckle that we're excited about is that there's a benchmarking component. So we will do that 3 times a year across all the elementary schools. We'll do it in September and January, and then towards the end of the year. And that will allow us to take a greater look at where our students are to the Massachusetts state standards. So they're in the process next week beginning this, and they're being assessed on standards that really we're hoping that they master at the end of the school year. But it will allow us to see where students are right now, what students may need support in other areas, and where we need to extend some other students. It will also allow us to look at our curriculum and look at our teaching practices. So if there's an area across the 4 elementary schools that maybe we're really strong in, maybe we don't spend as much time teaching that concept, or if there's an area that's at one particular school that we need to look at a little bit closer, and one of the other schools, their data is looking better than others, then what are you doing that's going to make our teaching better? So we'll be looking at curriculum overviews, we'll be looking at teaching practices. So again, something new for teachers. There's a learning curve going on. They're again excited. Many teachers had used this in the past. There was a free version, but this version that we purchased allows them to enhance this a little bit better. So there's something for everyone K to 5, and I think we're all excited to move forward with this.
Thank you.
Mr. Barr?
One component that's paramount to furthering the craft of teachers is professional development. This year we have a robust plan for professional development. Foundation's literacy specialists will conduct 5 full-day coaching sessions at Elm Street School supporting kindergarten and first grade teachers, and half-day sessions at the other elementary schools working with reading teachers. The Foundation's literacy specialist will also train 1 reading teacher from each of the elementary schools to be certified as level 1 facilitators, which will also help us to enable us to conduct in-house professional development facilitated by our reading teachers moving forward. Grades 2 through 5 participated in Freckle professional development on the first day of school. Over the course of the year, the learning will deepen through the collection and analysis of assessment data that will be used to inform instruction. Our math coaches will work closely with teachers to utilize Freckle data and the multitude of reports that Freckle is capable of producing to inform instruction for each individual student. 5 of our early release days will consist of professional learning sessions for K-5 classroom teachers, which will be conducted by the Museum Institute for Teaching of Science, MITS. The objective is to promote inquiry-based, minds-on, hands-on science education, completing the transition to the current science standards. During these 5 2-hour sessions, MITS will provide 6 facilitators. Teachers will be grouped and trained by grade level to learn or to work with grade-specific science standards to develop units around the disciplinary core ideas using the Understanding by Design framework. The sessions will focus on content development and investigations in physical science, earth science, and space science. Teachers will look at the vertical progression of standards from K-5, as well as identify connections between science, math, and literacy standards. This is an exciting opportunity for grade levels to be able to spend 10 hours working together to create curriculum to enhance science instruction across grades K-5. We're looking forward to all of these professional opportunities and all of the benefits that will result this year. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Duggan.
Thank you, David.
And just to conclude, I get to speak about our facilities in appreciation to our custodians as well as the town employees. Throughout the summer, our custodians work very hard. Maybe one's calling me now. Cleaning our classrooms, our cafeterias, the auditorium, stripping and waxing the floors, and cleaning our rugs. We are really appreciative of their efforts to make our buildings sparkle ahead of time for our staff to come in and do a great job preparing their classrooms as well as our students. We thank Ed Johnson and Bob Knight at Old Post Road, Neil McCormick and Mike Brennan and Josie at Elm Street School, Scott Manson and Eric Goodwin at Boyden, and Rick Sousa, Hugo Cruz, and Brian Thomas, our custodian that we split between Fisher and Boyden. We also had summer interns this year, which was wonderful in terms of shadowing our custodians and really helping the staff make our buildings ready. Also, the town coordinated projects both at Old Post Road and Fisher this summer. Old Post Road has a new boiler. They're getting a new generator. Currently, they have their roof project occurring. Their halls were freshly painted to welcome their students and staff. We were very fortunate at Fisher to have many capital projects completed. We have a new cafeteria ceiling with lighting that makes the cafeteria just very fresh and inviting. The paving of our front and back parking lots was completed. And we have a remodel of our office area. Now, you wouldn't think that's much, but with new flooring and painting and countertops, a glass enclosure to provide a really secure reception area, it's amazing what an updated office will do for the mindset of your staff and your student body. I think because our office looks brighter and fresher, our smiles are bigger and our welcomes are stronger and look good, feel good. That's Fisher. So we're really fortunate to have that in place. It may only be day 10 for our staff and our students, but we really feel well on our way to a successful school year. We're happy to answer any questions for you, although you might be in anticipation of the middle school report. So.
Well, I think conspicuous in its absence is any mention of buses, and the buses through Kim Poirier's coordination have been so smooth this year. It's the smoothest I've seen in all my years, and you know, we really appreciate that. So we'll mention that as an aside, as a benefit for our district.
Yeah, that's very true. I know from Fisher, our 8 buses arrive very close to on time. They're there when I'm doing dismissal. The students are, the bus passes are all allocated. So it's been a nice, smooth year for transportation.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, folks. So I guess Mr. Connor would be next as the first year principal for Bird Middle School.
I'm going first.
Hold rank.
This year, Johnson and Bird had an exciting and smooth opening of school. We welcomed just short of 900 eager middle school students with a wide range of emotions and energy. As always, our school year really started in mid-August with our 6th grade sneak peek programs. That programs gives our 6th grade students an opportunity to tour the school, meet some teachers, and interact with some awesome 8th grade teachers. Our 6th grade students were not the only ones new to JMS and Bird this year. Between both schools, we welcomed 13 new staff members. Both Mr. Connor and I could not be more pleased with our new staff and the great additions they've already made on our educational communities. 2 positions worth highlighting tonight is our full-time school psychologist and math coach intervention specialist at each school. We appreciate that these were the priorities for the district, and we know they'll have a strong impact on our community. In fact, our math coaches have already started communicating with parents, actually technically out in our e-notes tomorrow, about online resources that will help moms, dads, aunts, and uncles best support their students at home. The way we teach math has evolved, as most of you, if all of you know, and our parents will benefit from this support as much as our students and staff already do. While each of our buildings have been around for quite a while, we would be remiss if we did not thank our building maintenance staff and DPW.
newly painted walls, brand new windows, and floors that shine so bright it looks like you could skate on them have made for an excellent opening. And I think I speak for both Ed and I when that is really how the condition of the building is all year long. And finally, if I could add one personal note, 8 years ago when I started working at Walpole, I started at the high school as an assistant principal, and I was fortunate enough to work alongside Mr. Connor as an assistant principal. Ed taught me a great deal about working as an assistant principal. He remains a friend and mentor. Needless to say, I'm excited to be working with him again in his new role as principal at Byrd Middle School. He certainly has big shoes to fill, but I know we'll continue to work together to meet the goals of this district. Thanks.
First, I'd like to start by just thanking the school committee and the central office administrators for the privilege to serve as the interim principal at Byrd Middle School this year. And as Bill said, we really have had a really smooth transition to the beginning of the year. One of the big things that we wanted to highlight was our 7th and 8th grade one-to-one Chromebook initiative. It's progressing really well. The Chromebook agreements and the insurance forms are coming in fast and furious. We have also a number of Chromebook carts that are available for 6th grade use, so that the students in the 6th grade, even though they don't get to bring them home every day, they do have access to Chromebooks every day in their classrooms. Some of them are actually at Byrd Middle School. We're sending some of the Chromebooks home with the students already because they're so anxious to get them, and they've brought in, you know, their insurance money, or they brought in their agreement forms. So we also started the year with grade level assemblies, where we discussed our school expectations and how they connect with our core values. At Byrd, again, the core values that we really stress and how they're important in terms of why we have rules are respect, honesty, perseverance, kindness, and family. And at Johnson, you'll hear the kids talking about what it means to be grateful, innovative, gritty, compassionate, and invested. While we don't have the exact same core values, you can see a lot of similarities between the ideas that we really want to foster in our children as they grow into the young adults that they're going to be. And we'll also continue to work with the students and staff throughout the school year to build up our social and emotional competencies. And we're looking forward to a really great year doing that. And thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions,
Any questions?
What's it like to run the school you went to?
it's great. It's awesome. I never in my wildest dreams did ever imagine I'd be coming back to work in the town where I grew up, but I'm so happy that I did. I think it was one of the best decisions of my life.
Wonderful.
Great to have
Thank
you,
you very
Ed.
much.
My pleasure.
Ms. Melinbush?
Final principal, Steve welcomed 1,149 students this year, so he has a full house, and I'm sure he has a lot to share.
Sure. Before I start, I'd just like to mention that both Mr. Connor and Mr. Hahn started their career in the high school, and I taught them everything they know, so I'm not surprised that they're doing so well at the middle school.
Good for you.
Thanks, Dad.
Our opening of school this year went very smoothly in spite of the fact that we totally revamped our schedule. As you know, we added an 8th period this year with 6 classes meeting per day. I think the staff and students have adapted very well, even though we're only on day number 8 today. With the first two days that we started, the short days, we didn't really start into the schedule. I'd like to thank everyone, especially the custodial staff, DPW, who worked tirelessly to get the school ready for the students and staff. The day before school started, we had practically every one of our 280 freshmen attend our annual freshman orientation. This is always a very positive experience for the freshmen. It gives them the run of the school without the upperclassmen. Apart from the freshmen, we had 16 students who moved into Walpole at the high school level. Another 2 students, international students from Taiwan, and 1 student from Germany joining us this year. This year we extended our one-to-one initiative by giving a Chromebook charger and case to every student at the high school and every teacher. So far I've heard nothing but positive feedback about this initiative, and I look forward to continuing this in the years to come. And I want to thank the school committee for supporting that, because it really will change the way we educate the students. We have 12 new staff members in the building to replace staff who have retired, resigned, or on leave. We've been very fortunate in hiring some of the best educators in the business, and we look forward to building strong professional relationships with them this year. In extracurricular activities, we currently have 25 different sports teams representing 8 different fall sports and no less than 40 clubs and activities. So the 18 that Charlie mentioned, he didn't get them all in there, but there are, I counted them today, we have just about 40. To say that it's a busy place is an understatement. There's really something for everyone to get involved with at the high school. We also kicked off our new Pride initiative. PRIDE is an acronym, stands for positivity, respect, integrity, drive, and empathy. This was a grassroots sort of a venture that started last January with a group of teachers, built up to about 25 or 30 teachers who got together on a regular basis over the spring. We have posters in every classroom now with the PRIDE logo. We're having a Pride dance, as you heard earlier, on Saturday night. I see T-shirts being designed for staff to wear on a Friday, and we really are looking forward to this becoming something as we move forward. The athletic department ran a captain's workshop the first week of school, and Pride was the central topic. They got into a lot of issues like social media and chemical health issues and how to be a leader. So they really worked well with the captains. I'd like to remind the community about the Back to School night on Thursday, September 27th. We have a freshman parent orientation from 6 to 7, and we invite all our parents in from 7 to 9. We're looking forward to another fabulous school year at Walpole High, where every student can find personal success and can fully enjoy their high school experience. So, looking forward to it.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much.
Questions? Comments?
Just one quick one. Is this an accreditation year for you? Where are we with
the NEASC team will be out in early October 2019, so in 1 year from now. So this is the year where we're writing our self-study. We'll be taking a close look at everything we do. We'll be creating a report that will be ready by May of 2019, ready to go, so that when we get back, we'll be ready to present to them. So looking forward to that process.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Moving on, our next order of business is our school committee goals. This is the first reading. Before anyone mentions it, I do realize that I did not, many of the 7s should be 8s in there. It was a draft. We did review these goals initially at our last workshop, and no one had any feedback, so I figured we'd just give it to folks again to read, and we will address this in earnest next time on our meeting of September the 27th. Moving further, I have old business. I'm sorry. Yeah, reappointment is next.
Yes, the
Reappointment of representative to the
Yes.
Walpole Media TV Committee. Mr. DiTilio.
So to provide a little context, if I might, each year the school committee is asked to appoint a member of the community to represent them and school interests on the Walpole Media TV Committee. Previously, I had recommended Jim DiTilio to the school committee to vote as to their decision for Mr. DiTilio to represent them. I believe that Jim has proven to be a reliable advocate for the school system. He has been able to provide resources through the Walpole Media TV, such as partial support for a teaching position for TV production, which has been highly successful. I guess the reconstruction and renovation of the Walpole Media TV space, as well as new equipment. Students use the space on a daily basis. It's highly successful and popular. They went through a rebranding 2 years ago that gave them a facelift. So without hesitation, I recommend Mr. DiTilio, and we're pleased to have him here this evening to address the committee.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. If I could just point out that should Principal Bush and Mr. Farrow take advantage of our increased on-demand system now and take a look at tonight, tomorrow. I just want to add 2 words for them. Drama club.
Oh, I have to mention that.
Just thought I'd just mention it. As far as this year goes, this year we've had a slightly different focus this year because we've been trying to address or redress some of the issues regarding the COA and the senior citizen population, which has been our most underserved population. So we have been focusing a lot of our efforts this year with the new COA building coming online and increasing that. But while that's been one of the major efforts, there's still been a lot of things that have gone on this year. I'm pleased to say that we were once again able to obtain the funding. The Board of Directors voted to fund the 20% of that position for the coming year. Also, last year we stepped in and funded the film class, the summer film class, which had not been able to go. It is an expensive endeavor. It's just by the nature of it. And we were able to step in and support it last year, and it came back online, and it came back quite strong this year. We were able to support it again with funds enough to reduce the student cost down to $50. And Principal Bush called me shortly before it began and said that they had an additional number of students, enough to fill a second class if they could find a teacher, and they did. And we were able to fund that too. So I'm glad to report that the Board of Directors funded that. Over the years, and this came out of discussions with Film Festival, we had been using a product called Adobe Premiere 6, which is the editing software, which has long been out of production, and support for it had actually ceased several years ago. And this was in use not only by the Film Festival, but it was being used by the television production classes, as well as the art classes and the creative writing classes. The product was replaced with something that's fiendishly expensive, Adobe Creative Cloud. And we were approached about that, and after some research, we discovered that since we use it too, for us to buy 3 company copies for us, for the nonprofit, would have exceeded, or almost, actually would have exceeded the cost to buy licenses for the school at the school rate. So what we were able to do last year was purchase 169 licenses, enough to cover the television production classroom, our computers, the art computers, the film class computers, etc. So 169 licenses. So we covered that in its entirety last year, and we had talked with Principal Bush about trying to continue that and at least paying the bulk of it. And I'm actually thrilled to announce that Adobe restructured their pricing for education. Instead of selling individual licenses, which are roughly $25 per license, they're now selling them bulk, $5 for educational license, but the minimum's $250. The end result is there's almost twice as many licenses for a fraction of the cost. So the Board of Directors, this came up over this at the beginning of the summer, but the Board of Directors almost unanimously supported that we, going forward, when it's not due until October, that they would continue to fund it in its entirety. So the majority of directors felt that that's a really valuable thing for everybody. So that's one that goes actually outside of our purview. It's being able to be used by so many. And that doesn't even include the licenses that are allowed to go home with workers. Any of the teaching staff that needs that product as part of their work, job preparation, etc., is allowed to have a home copy as well. So we were able to do that. So there's been a number of things. We've funded some small capital things. We funded a class for the summer in television production and some small capital expenditures. Our next thrust is going to be trying to start spreading out across all the other schools. We have made some inroads reaching down to the middle schools. In fact, one of the best moments that I've participated in all year, we organized a field trip for the BMS news staff, the student news staff, to come up to the high school studio. And Mr. O'Farrell, who happens to be sitting right over there, ran the most fantastic hour-long field trip. The kids absolutely loved it. In fact, on the spur of the moment, he put together the material to do their next day's news. So they filmed it entirely in the studio using the equipment. He had the middle schoolers on the controls and everything in the control room, and it was absolutely astounding. I have not seen kids so excited and thrilled, and we put that on the next day at Byrd Middle School. They did it from the recording from the high school, and they were incredibly excited. And we're hoping to have more field trips down there. We also are hoping to be able to reach down into the elementary schools next to start seeing what can be done for them. So I think I covered everything. I think I did.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr.
I'd
D,
like, if any of you have questions for me, that's.
first off, Mr. D, I'd just like to thank you for your service to our town. I know you're a lifer like I am, and you've given 14 years of service to Byrd Middle School as a full-time teacher and 26 years of service as the drama coach. At one point, I think
Drama club.
The drama club. I believe at one point driving all the way out from a teaching position in West Boylston just to get back to Walpole to deal with us crazy kids. But what really strikes me is a wider desire of our committee to have our administrative staff and our representatives work collaboratively with the community. And I'm so excited to hear about the Walpole TV and the film festival and the high school being able to work together to save money in this instance, and in another instance to pay for 20% of a position. That's really what I think we're looking for, and we ask some of our other administrators to look at in transportation and cafeteria things, trying to find ways to free up funds for education. And I'm just very excited to hear that 2 classes of students were able to be educated in TV production this summer. And even as you talk about the seniors and kind of foreshadow the play, I know a lot of the community television's audience is senior based, and they love seeing so many of the school activities, whether because they can't get out to them anymore, whether they be a play or a sporting event or some sort of concert. And I think that really has a wonderful way of being a window for the wider community, especially those perhaps who might be up at Diamond Pond or in Ponce View Terrace and unable to get out to the high school to see them anymore, but still to kind of enjoy and see what our students are doing. So I think all of that is really wonderful. I'm sad we can only reappoint you for a single year again. Is your term limited? We don't have term limits on the school committee, thank God. So we're all still here. But I personally, not to speak for the whole committee, but I'm very personally very proud of the work you've done for us to really get this going and to be a great representative of all that is good for the Walpole Public Schools. So, anybody else? Mrs. Gallivan?
Yeah.
Mrs. Gallivan.
I have a couple of questions. Your summary covered an awful lot of my questions, which is great. We just need to hear what is going on. I'm interested in the limiting factors that kids have in terms of being able to take TV production, and I like the fact that you got a summer program going, because when you talk to high school kids, it seems like their schedules are very full, and I know the 8-period day opens up some opportunities. But I guess one of my questions is, do you feel that we're offering what we should be for the kid who really has this interest? And if not, should we be looking at potentially some short-term kinds of things, like a 5-night seminar on advanced editing, or sometimes it seems like kids don't have time to take another full course, but I was just interested in what you would say about the offerings that are happening at the high school, and is there a need to do more? Are we doing what we need to do already? Or what would your perspective be on that?
Well, I can't really speak to the offerings. I don't have the full course list. Mr. O'Farrell could probably help with that quite easily. But there's always the opportunity for more. One of our things is general outreach, and part of the intent of building a classroom initially was not just for the daytime classes, but to give us the ability to offer more things at night to the community and spread it around to all age groups as well, to basically all the different communities within the community, the students, the senior citizens, etc. One of the things now is to start targeting those things more accurately, making them more specific for this individual group, that individual group. One of the things that we would like to do is coordinate that, of course, with, as far as ones for students go, with the offerings during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that I can't speak to because I don't know what the progression is for what the number of courses are and their levels. So I'm sure Mr. O'Farrell can fill you in on that. We have other opportunities as well that we're working on building, including various types of mentorships, and so hopefully that'll all come to fruition. One of the problems this year is that we've been understaffed. We lost one of our full-timers to severe injury that he had at home, and he was unable to return to work. We sadly lost another one who decided that he was offered an opportunity to in a new area that he wanted to explore, having recently been married, and sadly we encouraged him. That's great. We were sorry to see him go, and we hope someday that it turns out not to be as wonderful as he hoped and comes back to us. But so we've been a little short-handed, and we're in the process of doing a little bit of reorganization to hopefully build the staff back up so that we can begin to address that. We're also reorganizing a little bit also because when we first set out the organizational chart 3 years ago, that was somewhat of a stab in the dark based on just pure logic and a little bit of past history. But the past history of the previous corporation was, we couldn't really base it on that. So we took our best guess, and 3 years in, like many small corporations, we're reevaluating where we're at, and okay, we need to shuffle this around in these duties and that sort of thing. So we're in that process now so that we can make sure we have the personnel to properly target and build the outreach. So that's a big portion of what's going on right now, as a matter of fact. So I hope somewhere in that mess I had an answer for you.
No, that's fine. I think it's just good to have a chance to explore some of these topics once a year. Another question that I have, and you just sort of alluded to it, is the high school student who wants to work for you. Mm-hmm. You said you're going to try to do some more mentoring, because I know in previous years we would have high school students that we got to know because they were regulars. And is that something coming down?
We still do it. We actually have a couple of students now that actively film sporting events.
Oh, okay.
Partly that also depends on their schedule and their interest and so forth. We have a couple right now that are going out in the field, and we've had a major increase, I forgot to mention it, in the number of school sports that are actually being covered, and the meets and games that are being covered. So we have a couple of students that are actually on paid internships that are doing that for us.
Oh, good. Good.
We want to keep building that and encouraging it.
Perhaps Mr. O'Farrell would like to chime in.
He might be able to give you something that'll make what I'm saying more sense.
I apologize for being overly dressed.
No problem.
You had asked about.
Would you like to borrow this?
Yeah, let me throw that on. You had asked about, like, are all the kids able to get into the class? And over the summer, I was in the office, and Jen Dolan said roughly only 60% of the kids that applied were able to get into the TV classes this year, which makes me happy and sad. You know, I don't know, you know, physically if there's the space, you know, if money was not an issue at all, if a second television teacher was brought on board, I don't know if there's even physically the space to do that. Right now I'm teaching 3 TV1 classes per semester and 2 year-long advanced television classes. So I have one student, Javon Jackson, took my class as a freshman, took TV1, and has taken advanced TV every year. So I kind of up his game every year, twist the, you know, what I expect of someone who's taken the class already, and try to, you know, increase that. I have one student who's now going to her sophomore year at Ithaca, and, you know, for communications, and still texts me, "Oh, the thing that you told me is I'm working on that right now," which makes me thrilled. You know, I try to use my real world experience to show the kids, and it's great because I've actually shown kids those texts. See, listen, and you'll learn, and you can go on. It's a fantastic business. I tell the kids all the time. Like, the first desk I ever sat behind in my life was my teacher desk. You know, I was out in all over Massachusetts for 20 years covering news stories. It was fantastic. It was a great job. So I try to, you know, encourage them with that.
Great advertisement. That's
Thank you.
wonderful. Yeah.
Ms. Muccini.
Hi. How many kids, so you said 60 enrolled in the class? How many applied?
No, I'm sorry, 60% of the kids who applied for the television classes were able to get in. So that, you know, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm booked full on every class, 5 classes with 22 kids each. So obviously, you know, there was, you know, a large number, which made me sad. There was some really excellent kids that put in for advanced television, and there just wasn't the room to get everybody in, which, you know, kind of disappointed me. But it's just a matter of space.
But that says a lot that over 100 kids, more than that, applied to be in the classes, because I think it was much smaller a few years ago, right? So that's fabulous.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice work.
We've been able to build it up quite a bit. So.
Cool.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Excellent.
That's my goal.
Seeing no further questions, I would like to request. Do you have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just since the question of, I heard that said about coming in once a year to mention, I'd just like to mention to you, as your appointee to the board of directors. By the way, I just wanted to point that out. It's not where the word committee has been mentioned a couple of times. It's actually a corporate board of directors, so which makes it a little complicated, because when you appoint me, I'm one of 7 votes on a board of directors, and we have various masters we answer to, as well as you folks, but we also have to answer to the Secretary of State of the Commonwealth, because it's a nonprofit corporation. But if you ever have questions of me, you don't have to wait once a year. There is probably no more accessible human in the town of Walpole. I am found in only one of 4 locations. I am either in Byrd Middle School, in the high school auditorium or TV studio, or at my house, or in the car going between. So, and I've had the same phone number since I was 12 years old. You can find me at any time, and I will be glad to listen to your suggestions, concerns, answer your questions. So you don't have to wait once a year for me. In fact, if you stand out in front of the Old Town Hall, I will pass by at least 7 times during the course of the day. So flag me down.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Mr. D. I would now like to request a vote to reappoint Jim DiTilio to the Walpole Media TV Committee Corporation.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Giotitz.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Gallivan. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Jim. So, next on the agenda, we have Assistant Superintendent Dr. Bridget Goff, who will give us an update on the curriculum staff development with respect to student emotional learning, as well as bullying prevention and intervention plan and the work she is doing with a parent and staff committee.
Good evening. As you heard tonight from the opening from all of the principals, that a lot of the focus for staff is on social emotional learning. Because as we know, that's what creates a safe and supportive learning environment. In the elementary schools, for example, they've created lesson plans to support CASEL. You'll hear that a lot throughout the year, and that stands for Collaboration of Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. It's through the SEL, Social Emotional Learning, but the CASEL is the overarching framework. And the elementary counselors, they are focusing on anti-bullying practices, but also having students learn about individual differences, resolving conflicts, setting expectations. As I mentioned at a previous school committee meeting, 27 teachers were trained on responsive classroom, and that's an evidence-based approach education that really focuses on a strong relationship between the academic success and social emotional learning. And really that responsive classroom approach empowers educators to create learning communities where students have a sense of belonging and feel significant. And I think you've seen that throughout the elementary, the middle, and the high schools tonight. In the middle schools, there's a social emotional focus group that was started at Johnson to develop coherent school-wide social programming. And those are focusing on the 5 competencies that are integrated in both the academic and exploratory curriculum. And they're piloting that along with Bird staff participating and being able to observe. And those 5 competencies are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. And really having both of the middle schools focusing on growth mindset. In the health classes, grade 6 will focus on anti-bullying, social skills, violence prevention, and stress management. Your grade 7 is interpersonal skills, violence prevention, cyberbullying, drugs and alcohol. And thankfully through the Karen Education Alliance, decision-making, coping with anxiety and anger, social skills, resolving conflicts, peer pressure, and mental health. I also just want to give a plug and thank the Walpole Drug and Alcohol Coalition. They will be having next month a topic, Vaping 101, what every parent needs to know, and that's through the Karen program. So hoping that parents can come and learn about vaping, the dangers, what it looks like, and preventative measures to help our children understand. And in November, along with our Safe Schools initiative, the focus will be technology, addiction, and youth. So those are 2 very important topics. At the high school, as I mentioned previously, over the summer, school counselors work to enhance the school counseling curriculum for the Massachusetts Development Benchmarks as part of a comprehensive model for school counseling. And with our new wellness position, they purchased a curriculum that meets the National Health Education Standards and the Common Core Standards. And some of those topics will include stress, depression and anxiety, suicide, alcohol and drugs, conflict resolution, stop bullying, empathy and violence, dangerous decisions, mental health, and celebrating diversity. Some additional items, Beth brought to our attention a nice conference that's coming up, I believe in November, when they release the logistics of it, called Fear and Safety in Schools, the Role of Mental Health Staff. So we'll be keeping an eye on that when that's released. And just yesterday, we received some information from the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center, known as MARC, of a Train the Trainer module. So those workshops will help train and actually certify MARC trainers. So we're looking to send someone from each building in the district. And they, in turn, will be certified trainers and be able to train their colleagues in bullying and cyberbullying prevention. And what's nice is the educators who complete this training are authorized to use the MARC materials and the data that's disseminated through the training. So I think that will be very helpful. So just to wrap that piece up, just taking a couple of excerpts from CASEL, they mention, and I think it just weaves in nicely to our district, that it's important to integrate social emotional learning into all aspects of school and district practice. Young people are experiencing unusual degrees of stress, and children are deeply affected by societal pressures. And as we know, research tells us that children and adolescents take their cues from adults. As adults, we set the tone for what is acceptable in our society, and this contributes in powerful ways to the social norms of our school's culture. And one of the pillars of CASEL's approach is an implementation of a strong commitment to promoting a positive school climate, and I think that's what you saw here through our principals. And finally, continuing to bridge the gaps in respect to human relationships in today's world, we need to include peaceful ways to resolve conflicts, emphasizing the importance of accepting and understanding others, recognizing and celebrating individual and cultural differences, and engaging in civil, tolerant dialogue, even when there's a disagreement about specific policies. And the president of CASEL, and I quote, "We believe in the power of education to teach nonviolence, promote understanding, endow children with purpose and meaning, and provide skills and behaviors that can create a more inclusive, healthy, and positive future. This work is vital, perhaps now more than ever." So just encompassing that. In terms of the bullying and prevention and intervention plan, I think what you have, there's a checklist of what's required by law through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Also, keywords and elements that must be included, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education model plan, and then the Walpole Bullying Prevention and Intervention Plan. So if you notice in the Walpole Bullying Prevention and Intervention Plan, there's highlighted components that recognize all of the updated regulatory changes through the department. Those have to be in there. So you'll see that, and that's actually, I came from a 5:30 meeting with the Bullying Prevention and Intervention Plan focus group. And we looked at all of those. We looked at all three pieces, as well as some pieces from other communities as well. If you look at the table of contents under the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and the model, and you look at our plan, they're identical. Even if you look at these table of contents, they must include leadership, training and professional development, our access to resources, our academic and non-academic activities, our policies and procedures for reporting to bullying and retaliation, family collaboration, prohibition against bullying and retaliation, a problem resolution system, definitions in relationship to other laws. So you can see those steps. So we also took a look at a couple of other plans that we highlighted and liked actually from our meeting. I found that, and we found that Ashland has a very comprehensive plan, and they recognize the changes right up front. They provide a nice overview, and they really talk about, okay, this is what we believe, and that's actually moved to the front of that piece of it. And then we also looked at Canton because we're very closely aligned with Canton. They ranged, I personally looked at, probably read through 18 to 20 bullying intervention plans. I think in the spring was the statement of interest plans, now it's the bullying plans. They really ranged from 4 pages to 25 pages, but they all included the regs that needed to include. It's just, you need to determine how comprehensive you want to be and how detailed you want to be. So what we did this evening, we went through the table of contents, we went through the checklist piece by piece to make sure everything that was in there was in there. And then the focus group made revisions regarding some edits, some just reviewing the organization of the plan, asking some questions, asking for clarification. So, and to look at what was nice is there's going to be some overlap. We looked at the data reporting, so that will overlap when we talk to the data focusing group. We talked about communication piece with communicating the plan and communicating the incident reports. So those are some of the items that will overlap. So what our next step is, we're going to put that all together. We took notes, share that out with the focus group. Once we get those recommendations, we'll share them to school committee, as the advisory board to the school committee, in order to make some decisions. So it was a very productive meeting, and I really think that.
Thank you, Dr. Questions, concerns, comments?
Well, just to start off, I think, we had a really great meeting. I was happy to kind of sit in, and one of the things that struck me was the fact that we're obviously all aligned, but B, fairly robust when we look at some of our neighbors as well. So I think that kind of dispels the notion that the district was deficient in this document. And I think it was great to, a lot of our discussion was cosmetic in nature, and perhaps this paragraph is better here or there. But I think we were just very grateful. to get a bunch of different eyes from all through the district. In fact, we had folks from the high school there, folks who hadn't had children in school yet as well, and I think this is an important piece, as we have said throughout this process, and as we continue to be committed to have updates about the school safety initiative throughout our meetings, that you don't just have to be on the small group to reach out to us. We welcome folks with questions or queries to either contact you directly or us through our mechanism on the school committee website. But I think what really struck me was we were probably on the more robust end of some of these programs. And I think that was some of these plans, which was very heartening to see and to read.
It was a very collaborative group, and we even had a counselor there from another district,
right,
which helped greatly.
Yes. Mrs. Gallivan.
I didn't have time to look through this too carefully.
That's okay, I did.
But, so maybe it's in here. Did you discuss safety plans?
Yes.
'Cause
That's
the
actually
part that
in there twice.
Okay.
It has to be in there. That's a regulation, according to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And it is outlined, looking at maybe where we want to place it, where it should be in the plan. That's something that we can take a look at. But no, that's in there.
Okay, so-
Twice.
Oh, good, good. And going back to the curriculum things that you were talking about, how many times during a week or how frequently do elementary school students get instruction on social emotional learning? Or how does that work at the end?
It's daily because it's integrated, and that's where they're really focusing. This isn't something that's an add-on and it's new.
Perfect.
It's how you need to channel it and how you integrate it into your daily lessons, and whether it be academics or your exploratory classes.
Perfect.
And that's what teachers need to know. It's not an add-on, but they just need to be aware. I mean, even when you look at the new science frameworks, it's really on how to argue in a non-defensible way, and how to be able to accept that criticism when you're defending your lab work, or you're coming to a conclusion on what you're doing in the scientific process of the classroom.
So, in two different instances, I've had parents in the parent group say, can you share what you're doing with the parents so we know the language, so that we can reinforce at home, whether it's, and they're perfectly willing to acknowledge, the school year has just started, but, so that we know what the core values are, so that we know what it means if you get a citation about being a peace builder. So I think that it's just a question that I've heard from a few different sources, which they're really trying to be part of this. And I think we're going to be better if we help the parents to get that information.
And I think that'll be good in the monthly newsletters, in the principal e-notes, getting that out to them through open houses, parent-teacher conferences, so looking at the different ways that they're able to do that. I know they do a lot at the PAC meetings. Maybe that might bring, I know in the middle schools from experience, we've had low PAC attendance, and I know that people are very busy, but finding different ways to communicate that.
Thank you.
Ms. Brown, sorry.
Just to clarify the safety plans a little bit. So do kids get a safety plan only if actual bullying is determined, or any sort of incident if they're not feeling safe?
No, actually, we talked about that tonight.
Okay.
In the plan, you'll see that it states that once there's an allegation, you have to make sure that you create some type of setting that person that's the alleged target feels comfortable while the investigation is being conducted.
Okay.
And that could take various forms. And in the plan, the bullying and prevention intervention plan, it gives some examples.
And you said while the investigation is conducted, but would it also be afterwards, no matter the conclusion, if the child's not feeling safe, just
so
to help
it
them
starts
feel safe and supported?
When that form is filed, through the investigation, and then communication after, and there's steps in there. That's why the safety plan, that safety piece is in there twice, when it's first reported and then upon determination.
Okay, right, because it could even be just a support plan, whatever we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Great.
Other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Move on to superintendent report.
So the next item on the agenda is an enrollment update. Since May town meeting, we have had over 200 new students register with our district of varying ages, grades, countries of origin, academic levels. So it's always a challenge to start the school year to assimilate these new students and to assign them to the proper programs and adult supports. On the other hand, we have had about 110 students go to other districts, move out of the district. You usually see that primarily in apartments. So we have a net increase right now of 90. That number may increase or decrease. We see kids registering on a daily basis, as a matter of fact. We do all the registration centrally. We collect all the information, medical information, discipline information, academic information, and sometimes we're reaching out to foreign countries to get this information. But we make sure that we have a robust process so that students enter our schools prepared to learn. So our class sizes are very respectable. We're in the low 20s in the elementary level. Two areas that I continue to keep an eye on are first grade at Elm Street School and first grade at Old Pulse Road, although we're only at 23 per class. One class has increased by 2, and I just, to get to 23. So I just need to keep an eye on that. I don't want to go over 25, but with the churn rate that we have, students in, students out, I don't anticipate that happening. I'm happy to say that the kindergarten classes are all under 22, which is our goal. It's not mandated, but it is our goal. All classes, total students are around 275, and if you'll notice the kindergarten, we're at 277. And I point that out because we generally have some students within the community who go to private kindergartens that return to us in first grade, which could be up to 10%, 20%, depending on the year. So that is a very, it's a large kindergarten group coming through. And I would answer any questions. We're at 48 students out of district, which is about where we've been for a while. We do have a record of keeping as many students in and providing programs in-house as much as possible. Makes sense for them so that they're not out on vans for over an hour in some cases, and they're being educated within their own community with their peers. That's an effective model. So I would entertain any questions. Johnson and Bird seem to be leveling out at about 450 each. There used to be a disparity of about 75 from Bird to Johnson, Bird being the largest school that Dr. Goff used to brag about all the time. But they're coming closer together, and enrollments are stabilizing. I don't foresee a huge spike, and I don't foresee a decline. We'll graduate 298 students and probably have about 300 in the first grade next year. Questions, concerns, comments?
Superintendent, to your point, I think we've discussed this a number of times when we talked about enrollments, of how some of these new developments really aren't generating the large amount of students we may think at face they would. So we sort of went over, we're seeing like up on the High Street area getting a kid and a half. Or
Yeah. The units we're looking at is Sunny Rock, East Side Place, Eastover Road, Moose Hill, the apartment units, but they're all mostly smaller units, 1-2 bedrooms. The houses, the big colonial 3 and 4 bedrooms, that's where we're seeing most of the students come from. The neighborhoods, as opposed to you would think the huge apartment complexes, but with 1 and 2 bedrooms, we're only seeing about 0.2 kids per unit.
Mrs. Gallivan.
Just curious, Lynn, can you tell us how many half-day kindergartners there are, or do you not know that yet?
6.
Spread out
6 out of 277. It's a very, very low number.
Okay. And are they spread out among the schools?
Yes.
Okay. Great, thank you.
The number may have increased over the past couple of days, but
it's a low
less
number.
than 12,
Yep.
definitely. Small number.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything else?
That's it.
So we're done. matters?
Okay, other matters. So over the past couple of years, this is kind of a personal note that affects the school system. My wife and I have been talking about the next phase of our journey together after 33 years. So she retired from teaching 2 years ago from a local high school, and it's now my time to announce my retirement. And I would been honored to serve Walpole. This is my 12th year as superintendent of schools. You know, along the way, I reflect on the journey, and you know, I look at restoring fiscal integrity, creating a digital learning backbone, that's second to none. But I think what I'm most proud of is creating a stable workforce, a stable leadership team, a good governance structure with the school committee, a cooperative relationship with the teachers union. We've overcome, you know, fiscal difficulties through the recession. We've maintained the quality and standards of our teaching and learning. So I think it's my time to pass the baton to the next generation. I think we have a lot of talented people internally as well as others that may be interested, but I'm very proud of the leadership council that we have established in this district, and I feel confident moving forward that the district is in good hands. We have good relationships with the Finance Committee, the Capital Committee. We see a member of the Finance Committee tonight. The Board of Selectmen, Capital Committee was very gracious the other evening. So, you know, I think that the district is, hopefully you'll think the district is better, in a better position now than it was 12 years ago. You know, there's always room for improvement. I think this year we'll continue to focus on improving our communication. And also looking at the prevention of peer aggression. Bridget touched upon it tonight, and the interaction with our parents and our students, and professionals within the business. So I think there's always room, no matter what you do in any walk of life, for improvement. We'll continue to do that this year. We look forward to working with MSBA this year and potential secondary school building feasibility study. I'm excited about that. So there's a lot to be excited about this year. It almost feels like today is just another day in the life, because you know, whenever you retire from a position like the superintendency, it's such a long, arduous process to find a replacement, and you want to make sure that you vet all candidates thoroughly and make sure that you handle the process properly. So I think that to provide almost 10 months of school year and another 2 months in the summer to create that transition process, I think it's the least I can do for Walpole and what they've meant to my career and my professional experience. So again, I'm honored. I sent an email to the staff today, thanked them, told them how much I admire them, and that will continue. And I hope to have many conversations with people on, you know, if you want to talk about the past, fine. If you want to talk about the future, that's okay too. You know, I think my conscience is clear. I think I've worked hard for Walpole, and I think it's been a mutually beneficial relationship for the students and the staff and hopefully the community.
Very good. Well, Superintendent, I just would like to thank you for all you've done for the students and the citizens of Walpole. When we lured you away from Mansfield 12 years ago now, we had just failed an override. There was a great deal of animosity and alacrity in our community. There was a lack of faith in some ways in the transparency of the school administration and the school administration's ability to deliver. And our community sought someone who had strong managerial background, and they found a now third generation school superintendent in yourself. And I think as someone who started I was a freshman at town meeting back in the day. I was skinnier then too. Heady 7s and 8s. I think we've seen as a community that we've been able to demonstrate time and again our commitment to working collaboratively. I feel that our strength now as a district is our ability to work with all these other boards at a very nuanced level with a great deal of mutual respect. I believe we've succeeded in, and you have succeeded especially in communicating to the wider community just what our budget drivers are, what we do here what the needs of the district are. And you've also, you touched upon it, elevated, as we've seen today in Dr. Goff and Principal Connor, capable administrators from home, literally from home, to work within our district. And I think there's a tremendous amount to be commended about, and you still have 10 months to go, so we're not taking our foot off the gas. But
No, not at
I
all.
think there's a great, there will be very big shoes to fill, but also a great amount to kind of pause here for a moment today, and also at the end of the school year, and look at what we've accomplished together as a district, the great recession we weathered together as a district under your leadership, and the difficult cuts we made, and the case you led to reinstate the monies for those vital programs. And now we find ourselves as a district, our high school still ranked in the top 100 in the Commonwealth.
50.
Top 50 again, and I think that that just speaks to the leadership you have given. And I, for one, I'm quite grateful
Thank you,
for
sir.
all of that. Other things. Mrs. Gallivan.
I don't want to completely say the same things that Bill
It's getting
did, but
emotional.
boy, the job of the superintendent is just one that very few people understand, and I think it's important for those of us who do see what you do to take a few moments. Link, I think we're so fortunate to have your service for 12 years. It's an extraordinary stretch of time in terms of typical superintendencies. I think the average superintendency is less than 3 years. It's definitely not 12. And there are just so many skills and talents that are expected of people like you. I had to be a little bit mathematical, so I was thinking that you're probably responsible for about 100 decisions in a given week, leading to over 5,000 decisions in a given year. And multiply that by 12 years, and we're up to 60,000 decisions that have benefited the children in Walpole tremendously. But then you have, in today's instantaneous world where it's so easy to complain about the handful of decisions, sometimes you've also had to weather the fact that somebody has 4,985 reasons to be thankful, yet they might have a few to complain, and that makes it hard. But tonight we want to take a little bit of time to thank you and point out just a few highlights. You'll always be known for finances, but it's worth illustrating that you came in at a very unsettling time to a very unsettled budget that required you to establish financial credibility, reduce expenses, eliminate valued positions, bargain for union concessions, establish an entirely new and financially viable food service program, and create new norms for job expectations. And then, after 4 years of work, you led the district to a successful override in 2012, which is no small feat, and it required probably an additional 40 or 50 nighttime meetings that year. And the skeptics claimed right from the start that you wouldn't be able to make it last, but here we are 6 years later, and that particular criticism has just about fizzled out. So yes, you'll always be remembered for your financial ability, but there's more than just that. Your legacy will live on, hopefully for a very, very long time, because you've carefully mentored an extraordinary leadership team. I know that these people are the people who are closest to you and for whom you'd do anything, but your passion and guidance and support of high standards has created a special team here in Walpole, and it's really a strong benefit for our children. In these crazy times in our country and in our Commonwealth, few districts have benefited from the selfless loyalty that you and your colleagues have given to our children, and we're really grateful. High expectations are everywhere, and on some days they create a wonderful challenge that drives many good educators. But on the days when those same expectations are coming at you in waves, not all of them are positive ones, and this is what truly tests the mettle of today's educators. Unfortunately, I can say that I've seen you truly discouraged at times, but you have an amazing resilience, and it's another thing that you'll be remembered for. Sorry.
He's not dying.
Where's Mike Ryan when we need him? But we'll talk about your resilience, and we talk about wanting that in our children, and you're a tremendous model about that. I could go on with more examples, but my colleague beside me will probably disconnect my mic at any minute now. So I'll end with the beginning. When you think about hiring a superintendent of schools and what we thought of 12 years ago, the first thing that you cannot waver on is the personal characteristics of morality, ethical decision-making, integrity, passion for children, and the love of a challenge. These are the qualities that I'll remember in you most.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Well said, right.
I just wanted to say that you've just been such a great teacher. I mean, coming in on school committee and, you know, I had a finance background, but what you do and the way you can break it down and explain things to any person who has a question. I mean, when we did the full day kindergarten task force, there were a lot of people who seemed to think there was a, you know, hidden pot of money somewhere, and if they looked at our books, they would be able to find that. And you sat down with people and you broke it down to them and really just walked them through everything. And I think it's so amazing that you can take such a complex subject and work with people, and, you know, your passion comes through. And I'm really happy that you have that ability to teach and that you've taught Mike Frisha a lot of ways to be creative, and you would get this little gleam in your eyes when you figured out another way to save us money and came up with this different approach to things with the school vans. And it was just nice, because you hear criticism that, you know, we're not spending money properly, but in general, people want you to do more with less, and you were always coming up with something that was just new and a different way to look at it. And you're a real leader in the area, and you talk to other superintendents, and you work with the state, and you've really, this past year, I know we were trying to get certain money from the state, and you went to a meeting with Nancy and I, and next thing you know, you're texting people and they're all pressuring their representatives, and you knew how to get things done. And we're so lucky we've had you here, and your seniority has really helped a lot, in your experience over the years, and the fact that we had stability. It's gotten us to a great place today, and I thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Jen.
Jean Brown,
everyone has spoken so well. I'm not going to be able to hit on any of the other. I think you guys have hit on sort of everything that I might have said. So I'll just say, personally, having 4 kids in the system, 2 still there and 2 through, I'm so delighted with the education my kids are receiving and have received. And I feel like, you know, you've been a big piece in that. Like you said, the stability and the whole leadership. And I've seen, particularly with my older kids, really kind of break out of their box and try new things and become leaders, but they were encouraged to do so through student council at the high school, through sports, through, you know, my daughter's a peer leader over at Johnson. Just, you know, they're, and people try to identify them with leadership and really cultivate that, and I think it comes from the top down. And both my kids were in college, and now one beyond. Really felt like they were prepared for college and for, you know, tough academics, and not just academically. They branched out socially in college, as they had done in high school. They tried new things in college, and I don't think they would have done that had they not had the education they got at Walpole High School, and now beyond in the work field. Seeing my oldest one try new things and live in a different state, and, you know, I just feel like it comes from the education they got here. And like I said, not just academically, but socially, with the activities and just with the staff, that they were really encouraged to try things and do things, and they didn't like something or it didn't go well, to try something else.
Well, it's been an honor to serve this committee. Nancy, you've been side by side for 12 years, the entire 12 years, Mike Ryan and many others. So, you know, it's been an honor, and, you know, you mentioned third generation. I used to look at my father as a 24-year superintendent, and I couldn't understand how he could do it, and just makes me respect him even more. And to be able to make it 12 years in a, you know, in a highly transparent position where you succeed and fail in the public view, I'm just glad I had the support from the Walpole community. So thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Okay, so what's next?
Back to work.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Back to the agenda. Subcommittee reports.
Subcommittee reports.
Could I add from a more practical standpoint, a little less touchy-feely?
That works for me.
A few more pages here, Mark.
People, you know, listening out there, that I think they need to understand how important it is to have stability. Somebody who's here for 12 years, and an administrative staff that's been here a long time, where people kind of move up the ladder. That sort of thing is very, very important.
Thank you.
Short and sweet, nice.
Absolutely.
It's true.
So I gotta say something. I can't not say anything. I can't be the lone person. No, but I just want to say that through the override process and working with you on the school committee, it is great to see your communication style come through. And in a challenging time, in the way things keep changing and keep coming at us, that you have looked at new ways to communicate with the community. Because when you're the public figure in a very public place that takes a big chunk of revenue from the town, and not everybody touches the schools, you know, I think that you have done an amazing job at keeping the town informed and looking at new ways to continue that communication. So I appreciate your willingness to get on Twitter and to, when we've pushed you to do some things that might not be comfortable, but it is, you know, it's been a privilege working with you. So I appreciate it.
Feelings mutual. So, next we have.
So now we're moving
reports.
Anybody, subcommittees? Just on the legislative subcommittee, briefly, I did fortuitously run into Dave Bunker, the House Budget Director, and Secretary of A&F Heffernan does work a floor above me, and they have begun the negotiations for the supplemental budget, which we're hopeful perhaps we may get done before September. And I know there's some monies in there. The town side's excited about Chapter 90, and we're excited about some matching grant programs for security investment, as well as the circuit breaker, which is huge for us. So stay tuned, but that process has begun to move. And just a final plug, we've had 650 respondents to our school climate survey, and we'd love to get to 1,000. So it is open for a few more days, and I think that the principals are gonna send out a reminder again in their weekly e-notes, but we reviewed separately some of the preliminary information. We would love to have the widest pool possible, folks, and especially we've received over 120 comments at the end, which we're going to delve into very deeply when the survey closes. So please do take the survey. Do give us your comments at the end. It's really vital raw material for us in our deliberations about many things, especially our school safety initiative that's been ongoing since the beginning of the summer. Mrs. Galvin.
Just one thought. We have set a date for the next Safe Schools Initiative meeting.
Correct.
And it's Tuesday, October 9th. And everybody in the community is invited to come and join us, even if you haven't made it to the July meeting or the June meeting. That's Tuesday night. I don't know that the time and the place are located yet, but mark your calendars and we'll get more information out about that.
Citizens' comments. I knew he wasn't just here.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I just wanted to give a quick thanks to Dr. Lynch. I've known you for 2 years through the Full Day Kindergarten Initiative and the Finance Committee, and just been so impressed by your resilience, as Ms. Gallivan said, and your work ethic and your knowledge. And so thank you for what you've done. I have 2 kids who aren't even in the school system yet. They're under 3, and you've made a huge positive impact on the town the last 12 years, but I know you've laid a foundation for my kids and many kids to come. So thank you.
Thanks. That's important, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Approval of warrants, donations, and minutes. Mrs. Syrick, take it away.
All right. Would like to make a motion to approve the payroll warrant from September 6th, warrant number S910A for the amount listed in your packet.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Syrick, second by Mrs. Gallivan. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600.
Would like to make a motion to approve the accounts payable warrants from September 6th, 219010, and September 13th, 219011 for the amounts listed in your packet.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Sarek, second by Mrs. Gallivan. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600. Gifts?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the following gifts and donations to the Fisher School, Boyden School, Johnson Middle School, from Bay State Textiles Recycling, a total of $134. To the Elm Street School from Acumentrix, 30 cyber acoustic stereo headphones with microphones for music classes, for the cost of $250. And to the Boyden School, Life Touch National School Studios Commission, $598.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Muccini Brownsword, second by Mrs. Sarek. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600. Would someone like to take the approval of minutes?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from August 30th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Muccini Brownsword, second by Mrs. Gallivan. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600.
And I'll make a motion to approve the executive session meeting minutes for August 2nd, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Muccini Brownsword, second by Mrs. Gallivan. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600. Mr. Breen?
Oh.
Wow, he's verklempt over there.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn if we could.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Breen, second by Mrs. Gotitz. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600.